Welcome to our final video on our series around the Stone Age and the early Irish settlers, and today's topic is the Bronze Age. Again, if you're the Junior Cert groups who are doing Junior Cert history post 2020, this really doesn't need to apply to you, but again, welcome if you're watching this out of interest. For the Junior Cert 2020 group who do have to do this, we're again looking at it with regards to our people in history, our question 4, and also especially here, our question 3 answers relating to the short questions. So in previous videos, I mentioned how the Mesolithic age was called the Middle Stone Age, the Neolithic age was the New Stone Age, and now the Bronze Age is self-explanatory. It's to do with the advent of bronze. So as I mentioned in previous videos, when you're looking at the Mesolithic and the changes from the Neolithic to that, and then the changes from the Neolithic to the Bronze Age, while they weren't absolutely total and wholesale, they were significant enough that archaeologists and historians can date the different time periods. In terms of technology and in terms of changes, you're thinking again the difference between every iPhone model or every Samsung model. Gradual, small, but significant. So we looked at the Mesolithic period. The Middle Stone Age was around 7,000 years ago. We know the Neolithic, the New Stone Age, was somewhere between 4,000 to 3,000 years before Christ. And now we look at the Bronze Age, which is 2,000 years before Christ. And in terms of technology, we see our most important invention yet, and that's the invention of bronze. We had copper mines, then we had the tin, but it's the idea of smelting them, smelting with an S at the front, to make bronze, this new technology, this new technique to make a stronger, more durable material. And then this brings in the end of the Stone Age and the arrival and advent of the Bronze Age. Now your questions in the Junior Cert won't be as literal and as in your face as that, but it will be asked the same way. Why was the Bronze Age, or why was bronze seen as better than stone? Why was it seen as the new technology? What was the advantages of bronze over stone? They're, like we mentioned, they're more durable. The first one, harder wearing. You got more value out of it. Because you were smelting this material, because you were smelting copper and tin, you could put them into molds and you could shape it easier for sharper tools. What's really interesting about this, though, as well as looking at the technology, we also are looking at the developments of societies as a whole and how our trade, our commerce, our dealings with the outside world change. Now, we know copper is naturally mined in Ireland. Two of the best examples here would be Killarney in County Kerry and Mount Gabriel down in West Cork. However, while we have copper there, we can't naturally get tin here. Tin is mined over in Britain. So what we are also seeing, as well as huge advancements in technology around 2,000 years before Christ, we also have evidence of trade. We have evidence of commerce. We have evidence of a now back and forth system between Britain and Ireland. That Britain and Ireland now depend on each other for valuable materials. Again, using our examples of modern technology, like our iPhones, the Bronze Age houses develop even further again. So notice the size, notice the thatched roofs, notice the stronger walls, notice generally there's now a fenced in area, penned in area for farming and keeping farmyard animals. So we've now almost completely done away with hunter-gatherers, and we're now living or watching or studying a purely agricultural society. Something that won't change in Ireland up until the early 20th century. There's a saying in history that the more things change, the more they stay the same. That applies to the Bronze Age too. The Bronze Age people depended on the same types of food as the Neolithic people. They were still a farming and agricultural society. You still needed the saddle stones for wheat and barley. As well as the meat, a lot of people settled near lakes and rivers for fishing. Now, As I said, farming wasn't the only way of life. There were still people who were hunter-gatherers who hunted for their foods, but also the idea of hunting for wild birds could have been seen as a sort of sport. The women and children still used the wooden baskets and pottery for gathering and cooking, and because of metal and because of bronze, we now have the advent of cauldrons, which made it easier to cook. Perhaps the biggest change in cooking here, though, and especially in terms of if you're looking in your junior cert question, is the Flucht Fia. So the Flucht Fia was this new method of cooking. Literally meant a cooking place, and these Flucht Fias were wet, low places by rivers and streams, digging a hole in the ground, and then you would cover this hole with flat stones and timber, to keep the mud out, to keep the dirt out. Also showed that the early people, or the Bronze Age people, had a sense of cleanliness, had a sense of, hygienic standards. But what happened then as well, once these beds were made, they had a source of fresh water. You then saw a fire was lit. As we can see on the left hand side of our diagram, these stones were heated on the fire, they were taken out, and then they were put into the water. The meat was then, to keep it clean as well, would have been wrapped up in a sort of straw or reeds, and as the water would seep through the hot water, this was essentially boiling. Okay, so boiled meat. And this tradition continued all the way into Celtic times. Now, what I will also have here is the idea of the Bronze Age work. So the majority of the Bronze Age worker were farmers. They still used wooden spades and ploughs where available, but then they had bronze sickles for cutting, for ploughing. They also had these developments in technology, which saw farming became more advanced. And of course, as well as that, for copper and tin, both in Britain and Ireland, there was evidence of the mining industry. Thank you for watching this, guys. This was the series on Bronze Age and Stone Age in general. I'll be back again soon with more videos. Goodbye.